Jerry,
Yes.
who is actually going to take us through this registration process, because currently he is working at the Liberian International Ship and Corporate Registry, LISCR, as a general manager and managing director since the time he retired in 2014. He took up this assignment from 2015. Before he retired, I believe he went around the world because he gave us short biodata. I found that he was in Hong Kong as a managing director of Volume Ship Management. He was in Canada as a technical director of Canada Steamship Lines. He was in La Spezia, Italy, as a manager for new build for Denholm Ship Management. And he has an Indian connection because he worked in Bombay, which is Mumbai now, as a manager of offshore with Denholm Macleay. So that is his vast experience put out in a very short biodata. Of course, before all this happened ashore, he was a sailor like most of us, or like most of the cadets who will be. He went out to sea with Denholm Ship Management in 1968. I don't find anybody in this room who was born in 1968. So he started his career at sea as a junior, of course, except Captain Dev Goswami. So he went out to sea as a junior engineer and rose to the rank of a chief engineer, both on steam as well as motor ships. He left sea in 1982 after sailing on variety of ships, which included tankers, bulk carriers, container vessels, etc., before he took up his vast experience, which I just read out ashore. Of course, he's from one of those beautiful countries in the world, which is Scotland, from Glasgow. He was born in 1948. There was this one time I remember our ship, the ship I was on, called Glasgow. So there was a small connection between me and Scotland, but that was very long time ago. But I'm very happy to connect with somebody from Scotland again. So without taking your time, Mr. Robert Jerry, may I invite you to go ahead with your topic and presentation on ship registration. Over to you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to everybody at IMU for the opportunity to speak today. And massive congratulations to all of the cadets who are graduating. Congratulations to every single one of you. You're entering into an industry which I have been in for many, many years, and which has changed a lot over the years. And I'm sure you're going to have a fruitful, happy, prosperous, and safe career at sea. Before I move on, I just want to say that you missed out one of my accolades, and that was before I retired. For the 10 years before I retired, I was in New York as the president of Genco Shipping and Trading. So I'm actually very proud of that, because it was a public listed company, and we did an IPO and all the rest of it. And I'll come on a little bit down in my presentation when I get into the then and now section and talk about shipping as it was and shipping as it is today. First of all, Liberia, the Republic of Liberia. The Republic of Liberia is, as you all know, is situated on the west coast of Africa. The capital is Monrovia, and that's the name that goes on the stern of the vessel. Population is small in comparison to India, 4.7 million people. So it's a very small country. It's a pretty poor country as well. The president is George Weah. If any soccer fans in the audience there, they may remember that George Weah was a very famous soccer player in Europe. He played for Atletico, it's actually AC Milano in the Italian league. And he's the only African player to have won the Ballon d'Or, which is a tremendous accolade for any European player. But the one thing I want to say about this is I remember being at a presentation one time, and I was asked by somebody, Jerry, he was a football player. And I said, yeah. And they said, does that make a good standing for somebody to be president of a country? This was an American that was saying this to me. Oh, I said, well, you know, rumor has it that the best president that the USA has had in recent years was a cowboy. And the reference was to Ronald Reagan. So I managed to get my own back in the arrogance of talking about our president. You talked a little bit about the laws of the country before, and I just want to add that the laws that govern the Liberian Registry are not, they are from the Liberian Maritime Association, yes, but the law is made up of US law and English law. So it is not Liberian law per se. It is a combination of a US law and English law. Okay, so moving on to the agenda. Not too many topics to cover. I want to talk a little bit about the registry. I want to say a little bit about the topic, which is registering a ship. It's a very complex topic. There's many departments in it, and I'm not going to go through.
In your presentation, but we're on the first slide.
Okay, are we okay now? Slide 4?
No, we haven't moved from the first slide.
Really? But it's moving here. That's the strange thing.
Can you put on a slideshow and start?
Let me put this down to stop sharing. Come out of this and let me try and come back into it again. Hang on 1 second. Apologies for this. I don't know what happened there. Hi, can you see me? I
No.
can see you.
Yes,
I can
yes,
see,
yeah, yes.
I can see you. So I'm going to go back into present,
Okay.
open it up, and my presentation. I need to find it again. Sorry. Ay, 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 ay. It does not want. It does not want to play with me. I have the presentation here, but it's sticking. I shut it down. Okay, now I can't seem to bring up the presentation there. Let me see if I can bring it up here.
Do you want us to present it from our end?
You can do that, and can I still change the? Can I still
No.
change?
You have to just prompt us to change the slide.
So, how? Okay, so yeah, okay, let's do that then.
Okay. Just let us know once you can see our screen.
Yeah, I can see it here. So, do you want me to bring it up?
No, we will do it. You can just prompt us to change the slide.
Yeah, I don't have the presentation on my screen, but do you have it in yours?
Yes, you can't see our presentation?
No.
Okay. Do you want to try it again once more? The same way?
No. I don't need to see it. I don't need to see it. As long as you can see it, that's the most important thing. I can just prompt you to change the slides. Is that okay?
Yeah, but do you want to try it once more from your end?
Sure. Let's try.
Hold on.
Can you see it now?
Not yet.
Oh, it's.
Are you sharing the full screen?
I'm sorry?
Are you sharing the full screen?
Yes. I'm sharing the, not the full screen, but I'm sharing this screen. Okay, let me see. You have it now?
Yes, it's coming on now. Yes.
Okay, my apologies for all of this. I don't know what happened there.
Can you go to the slideshow mode?
No, I'd rather just do it this way, the way I've got it, if that's okay.
Can you just change one slide so that we know it's moving?
Yeah. Okay. You should be on slide 3.
No, we're still on slide 1.
Then in that case, I think you better do it and I'll prompt
Yeah,
you.
that's the issue. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I think we will do it because your slides are not moving.
Yeah.
Just
I
give
don't know
us a
what's wrong
minute.
there.
Yeah.
It all worked when I was running through with my office today, but there you go. It's
No problem.
technology for you. Okay, so let me know if you can come on to slide 3 and let me know when you're there.
Sure. Can you move to slide 3? Okay, we are on slide 3 now.
Okay. Okay, so I was just finishing off. I said I want to finish off the presentation by talking a little bit about what life was like when I was at sea, as to what you can expect or you'll have experienced in your time that you've been at sea so far. So can we switch on to the next slide, please?
Next slide. Slide 4.
You're on slide 4. Great. Okay, so a little bit about the registry as it is today. The registry has at the moment 5,100 vessels plus. The thing about registries, it's like the tide. Ships come in, ships go out, and at the end of the quarter, we tab up what the net gain was or what the net loss was. And in our case, it's always been, for a long time now, it's been a net gain. So we get just over 5,100 vessels registered. That equates to about 14% of the world fleet. We're ISO 9001. The 14% also equates to about 210. It's actually up to about 211 at the moment, million gross tons. And we have 380,000 active seafarers with Liberian certification. Next slide, please. We are the fastest growing flag. We have been since 2019 and growing a very, very strong rate, over 11%, 11.9% was last quarter. The registry is headquartered in the USA. It's contrary to what a lot of people think, that it's registered, it's headquartered in Monrovia. It's not. It is a privately operated registry operated by Lisker LLC. And this Lisker LLC have a license from the Liberian Maritime Authority to actually run the registry. So in many ways, it's a Liberian registry, of course, but it is run 100% from the USA. It was started in 1948, and I share a birthday with the registry. We're both the same age, 73. So you can put your calculators away. I gave you the answer there. We have a large international representation, and I'll come on to a slide later which shows you where the regional offices are. We're whitelisted in every MOU, which is very, very important for the registry. We are very, very advanced in technology, except me, who keeps leading the presentation here. And we have detention prevention programs, which are there to back up the quality that we expect in our fleet. Next slide, please. Okay, so the fleet today, you can see in this slide, I hope it hasn't come out too well on the wheel, but the red part is there indicating Liberia with 14%. The one above us in the gray is Panama, which is the largest flag. Actually, the first slide indicated the largest flag, but it was referring to gas tankers. The largest flag is, in fact, Panama at 16%. And the one below us is Marshall Islands, and they are on 12%. So those are the three big flags. You've got Panama, Liberia, and Marshall Islands in that order. At our expansion rate, the distance between Panama and us is actually decreasing, and the distance between Marshall Islands and us is increasing. The fleet is made up again of the big three. It's made up of container vessels, tankers, and bulkers. That's the bulk of the business that we have. There's a plethora of other different vessel types of vessel, but the one I've highlighted there is gas carriers, and we are the largest growing gas carrier fleet, not only of tankers to carry gas, but of vessels burning LNG. Next slide, please. This is the red. This is where we are in the world. The red dots that you see make up 27 regional offices. The most recent office is Manila, and Manila is also an office that I am responsible for. In fact, I've just come from Manila. If you look at my surroundings here, I'm actually in quarantine, having come up from Manila. I get out tomorrow, I hope. So it's set up. Every other regional office is capable of doing everything that's required by our clients. If the client wants to register a ship, delete a ship, if the client wants to do anything to the ship, each of these regional offices are decentralized from head office, and they have the authority to do what needs to be done for the client, except Manila. Manila is set up for manning, we have, out of that 380,000, we have about 100,000 seafarers from the Philippines carrying Liberian documentation. And so it's there to satisfy and to give a better service to the Philippine market. Will that change and we open up one in India in the near future? Yes, I think that may happen. And so stand by, you might see me back in India in the near future. Who knows? And before I change the slide, sorry, the small blue dots that you see there represent ports in the world where we have our trained auditors and inspectors. Liberia is very unique in the fact that we have our own network, over 400 trained auditors and inspectors. They don't work for us, 7 days a week, but they are trained by us. They have their own businesses, surveying businesses or whatever it is. But when a vessel is requiring a safety inspection or any kind of inspection done, or they have issues with port state control, and we have to get an inspector into a system, then we have them all over the world. These inspectors are trained. They go through a 14-day training course, which is held every year. And not all at once, but selected inspectors come, and we're constantly training them into our requirements and what's required to assist our clients. That's unique to the Liberian registry. Other registries just use anybody they can get. We have our own people. Next slide, please. Okay, registering a ship. And before we change slides, I just want to highlight our website there, www.lisca.com. If you go into our website, you can find everything that I'm probably not going to cover in the registration of a vessel. So next slide, please. Okay, there's three main components. And I break them down to three main components anyway. Compliance, corporate, and maritime. Compliance, well, we need to know who the beneficial owner is. If somebody comes along and knocks on my door and he said, I've got a ship, I'd like to register at Liberia, we don't know who this person is. So we have to do some research to find out his background, who he is. Is he a sanctioned person? Does he come from a sanctioned country? All of these things. And so we have to make sure that we're dealing with upfront and good standing people. The next one is corporate. Before any vessel registers in the Liberian registry, there must be an owning entity, a registered owner. So the owning entity can be, for Liberia, can be two ways. It can be a Liberian corporation, or it can be a foreign maritime entity, or FME, as we refer to it. The benefit of an FME, a lot of owners, they prefer their own owning entities, their own jurisdiction. It could be an owner who's got a relationship with Hong Kong, and he wants to have the underlying ownership of his vessel as a Hong Kong entity. No problem for us. We can still register that vessel through the foreign maritime entity system and still register it in Liberia. So he gets all the benefits of the Liberian flag while still enjoying his own jurisdiction. Maritime. So if we can switch over to the next slide, please. So for maritime, the first thing we request is the application for registration, which is a form called the RLM 101A. This form is quite detailed. It used to be more detailed than this, but we cut it back, and we now only ask for the pertinent information that we need. It's split into four parts. The first part gives the vessel owners, and it asks for particulars, IMO numbers, etc. The second part deals with the waivers. If the ship is over 20 years of age, it needs to get a waiver. We still take ships in that are over 20 years of age, but our technical department gives them a thorough shakedown. It's a bit like when you take an old car into a garage. The garage goes over it, with a fine tooth comb, and we do the same thing. And I'll come on to a little bit about what we do in one of the later slides. Tonnage less than 500, it may be a barge that's coming in. We don't really take in many barges. Other registries do, but we don't. And then part number 3 is the application for a temporary radio license. We need to know who the radio authority is, and we need to know that it's an authority that we approve of. Next slide, please. Okay, this is part 4. This is general correspondence. It's important for us. We need to know who to bill. That's how we get our money. Some owners like invoices to go to their ISM managers. Other owners like to pay all the invoices themselves, or general correspondence. They split it up whichever way they want. And so they put the information in here. And then number 5 makes this document a legal document. The owner or his legally appointed representative, could be a lawyer. They have to sign this, and they are taking an oath that the information contained in the form is truthful. And then that is it's authenticated by a notary public or by a Liberian special agent. And for example, I am a Liberian special agent. I can stamp this and sign it and see the signature, check passports, all of that thing to make sure it's all authentic. Next slide, please. The next document that we'll look at, and the bill of sale takes place obviously at the time that the deal's being done between the buyer and the seller. But we like to look at the bill of sale before that, because we want to make sure that the bill of sale follows the format of the registry. And so it's usually a few days before the closing. We get a copy of the bill of sale to the owner. He'll fill it in, put it back, we'll approve it, and then it's ready to go on the day of the closing. There has been cases in the past where there's been a problem with the bill of sale, and that delays the closing, and owners don't like that, and neither does the registry. So this is a very, very important document. The next slide, please. Okay, so again, www.liska.com. If you go in there, how to register a ship, there is a flow chart. And the flow chart was drawn up by our chief registrar in New York. And a gentleman called Greg Maj. Greg did a great job drawing it up, but it's too big and too busy to actually put on a slide. So if this is a subject that really interests you, I would urge you to go onto the website and look for the flow chart and go through it. It goes into every single aspect and every single detail of registering a ship. So I pulled out some of the items which are of interest, should be of interest to you, I hope. The first thing is classification. We go to the classification society that's responsible for that vessel. And we ask them for a class survey report, including the last special survey, if it's a vessel more than 5 years. We also get a statement from class to say that the vessel is in full class requirements in all aspects. That is very, very important. The next thing we look at is we want to find out who the ISM manager is. The ISM manager could be a manager, an in-house manager for the owner, or it may be a third party. But we want to know who he is. We want to look at the record of the ISM manager, and we want to make sure that the ISM manager has a document of compliance, a DOC, that covers him for the actual operation of that type of vessel. Next slide, please. Crew certification. Crew certification is very, very important. For those of you who have been to sea, you will have submitted your documentation to the company who submits it either directly or through a manning agency to the registry, whichever vessel you are sailing on. When there's two ways of doing this. That we have a system called Sea System, and all of the big manning agencies and all of the big filing agents, they all have the software for that system in their office. They scan in all of the information, fill in all the information, and they transmit it to us electronically. Or for some countries and some manning agents, they send it to us by fax or by courier or whatever. And then we enter it into the C system, and that's what we call Station 1. That is the first the first thing we have to do to get the licenses moving. Yeah. Once it's in C system, then we have a team of verification and evaluation coordinators who look at all of this. They check the documentation. They check for that there's nothing illegal in it. They check that everything is as per requirements, and they check the training record of the applicants. And that is also very, very important. The training records have to be checked for the position that they're going to be sailing on in that particular vessel. So it could be second engineer or third officer or whatever. We check the medical certificate. Very important for us, and also very important for you. You don't want to go to sea and have something wrong with you. And unfortunately, it happens. Not so much among younger seafarers like yourselves, but older seafarers, perhaps like me, who may have hypertensions and diabetes, and they don't want to declare that. They hide it. It's not picked up in the medical. They go to sea and something happens, and they end up with a ship that has to deviate, helicopters, and it costs a lot of money, and owners are not happy, managers are not happy, and flag is not happy as well. So, you know, whenever your time comes, don't be silly. Declare everything to the practitioner who is going to give you the medical. Medical certificate has to be valid for 12 months. If you go on board a ship and you're going to be on board for, if you've only got a medical certificate for 4 months validity, and you're going to be on board that ship for a minimum of 6 months, it won't be accepted. You have to have a certificate that's going to be valid for the full 12 months. Once everything is done, once everything is checked, then the licenses are issued. And how are they issued? They're issued by printing them out and couriering them to the owner or the manning agent, and he then gives them to the crew to set off on their travel. This is an application that's changing, and it will change in the next few years because everybody's going to QR technology, and I think you'll find in recent years to come that this will all be on QR. Why are we doing it at this stage? We're doing it at this stage because when the vessel registers, it is a Liberian vessel. And so therefore, any seafarer on board must have Liberian documentation. So it's very important that this is done before the actual vessel registers. Next slide, please. Insurance. P&I cover is very, very important for us. Very important. We have to give out civil liability certificates. We call these the BCLC, the CLC for tankers, and wreck removal, WRC. The BCLC is to cover for oil spills through bunkers. The CLC is for tankers, so it could be cargo discharge into the water, and the wreck removal is in the unfortunate case where the ship sinks, then the owner of the P&I club have to remove the wreck. Let's hope nobody in the audience is involved in anything like that, but it does happen. Next slide, please. So there's a lot of certificates that have to be issued. Again, if you go onto the website, you'll see a list of certificates that must be issued, but far too many for me to put up on a slide here. But I can tell you that at the moment of registration, and that takes place when the money changes hands. Okay, when the buyer and the seller reach agreement and the money goes from the seller's bank to the buyer's bank, we get a notification that has been done. The bill of sale, which I talked about earlier, is signed. We like to get a bill of sale immediately to tell us that the requirements of the sale have been met. But depending on where the ship is changing hands, that may not always happen. We get an email from the owner to tell us that he's taken delivery of the ship. and to proceed with the registration. And on that instruction, we do. We do get a copy of the bill of sale, but we give them 3 days to send us that copy, and an original must come after that. So once we get the notification from the buyer, the registration coordinator in whichever office will proceed with the registration process. That takes just a matter of minutes, to be honest with you. It takes no time at all to register a ship, but that's only in the case that all the documentation and preparation has been done beforehand. And that's the reason for doing all this. We usually start this 2 to 3 days ahead of a ship registering, so that everything is done and ready to go. All certificates are issued electronically. In the old days, somebody had to be on board the ship from Flag, and they got the word from Flag that the ship is registered. They would then sign and stamp all the certificates and hand them over to the master. That doesn't happen today. Liberia was the first registry to introduce electronic certificates back in 2007, and we've been doing it ever since and improving on it ever since as well. Okay, there's money involved. This is not a free service, and the registry charges tonnage tax. There's various taxes. We give out various charges. There's charges for the certificates and whatever else, and we give a list of charges to the owner ahead of the registration. He approves it. We then issue an invoice. Tonnage tax is charged annually. Marine investigations, which is an IMO charge, that's charged annually as well, as is our annual safety and compliance inspection. That is charged annually too. And so these are issued by invoice. They're issued on net tonnage, so they're all based on net registered tonnage. There's a calculation, and we get the money. And yeah, so at that point, all registration costs, if you're interested, are found online in a file called ADM 003. There's a full list of registration costs there. Next slide, please. Okay, so now your vessel is registered and you're going to take it out to sea and operate it. So next slide, please. So of course, we're interested in all aspects of the vessel. We're interested in the safety. We're interested in everything. But what I don't want to go through all that with you today, but I just want to touch on detention prevention. This is very important for us, and it's very important for you as well, because it helps your safety on board tremendously. So we monitor every ship through the LRIT. We have a signal from every Liberian flag ship coming in, and LRIT is something that we test ahead of actually at the time of registration. Once your ship is registered, within the hours after the registration, the LRIT is tested to make sure that we're getting the signals. If the LRIT is switched off at any time, and that has happened in the past, we know immediately that it's been switched off, and we carry out an investigation as to why. Sometimes it's an error or a fault with the equipment, but we've also found in cases of vessels operating in sanctioned areas that it's been switched off deliberately, and those vessels have been put out of the registry, deleted from the registry. So the LRIT tells us where the ship is going. The four main areas, the four main MOUs or four main areas that we're interested in is Australia, China, Europe, and the United States. Why those four areas? Because if you take the majority of the ports and the vessels trading, these are the main trading areas. Sure, there's lots of other ones. There's India, there's the Middle East, there's all these places, but these are the four that we focus on. And when a ship is going in there, we look at every aspect of the ship, every aspect of previous inspections of that ship, every aspect of previous inspections of other Liberian ships going in there. We look at classification reports. All of this is fed into our computer system. And this is a big undertaking with 5,100 plus vessels. This is a big undertaking. So it's not done manually. The computer is analyzing this, and it works on a logarithm, and it predicts vessels going into port, what they're going to get hit with, and what we should be looking at. And so we contact our owners and the ISM managers, and we tell them that the vessel's going in. This particular port is looking at ABCD, so please make sure that your ship is in full compliance. We noticed from the last inspection report that the ship was deficient in XYZ, so please make sure that this is all taken care of. We feel that the ship's going to get a heavy inspection, so therefore we suggest that you have a Liberian inspector meet the vessel on arrival. And that usually happens, and what this does is it saves a detention. And if you look at our detention report, and if you look at that little table, I don't know if you can read it, but on the table below there, the savings from 2019 through to 2021, we don't have the 22 figures in there yet, but the savings have been absolutely incredible. And that's what's giving the registry a great name, because we are saving on detentions, and it's benefiting not just the registry, but it benefits the owner. It benefits the owner tremendously. Next slide, please. So I'm not going to read through all this. It's a little bit long-winded, but it just suffice to say that because of this system that we're operating, we were the best performing flag for the US Coast Guard in 2021. We are in QualShip 2021, which the US Coast Guard's measure of quality. Under the Paris MOU, we're the best performing major flag. Under Tokyo MOU, we have the largest detention rate decrease of all major flags. In Australia, again, the largest detention rate decrease of all major flags. And in China, significant decrease in all detention rate. The reason it's significant is all flags are facing issues in China because inspections are not taking place because of the COVID situation there. So that's the reason why the wording is a little bit loose there. So we are whitelisted in every MOU. Next slide, please. We're leaders in technology. We have been for a long, long time. We have two information systems which we deal with. One was LIS, Liberian Information System, which was basically a system that was dealt with by all the regional offices, all linked on the same platform. But that's being phased out at a fast rate, and we've introduced Waypoint. And Waypoint is a system where we can interface with our clients. Our owners can actually go into Waypoint. They can download certificates if they need copies of certificates. They can download their compliance certificates. Compliance certificates are the wreck removal, the BCLC, etc. They can do all of that. If they need dispensations, they can download the dispensation from Waypoint. It's a very, very advanced system. We're the only registry to have this. It saves a lot of time for the registry, and it saves a heck of a lot of time for the owner. Next slide, please. And this is just an example of our e-certificates. As I said, we've been doing this since 2007. It's a system that works. If you can give me the next slide, please. Here's an example. This is a BCLC certificate. This is how it looks. At the bottom, you'll see the elliptical highlight. That's a unique number. Every certificate carries a unique number, and certificates can be traced back to our database. So if anybody is claiming it's a false certificate, and sometimes Port State Control do that, it can be traced back, and we can show that it is not a false certificate, that it is a genuine certificate. Next slide, please. And this is what's called a CRA. It's part of the crew documentation. It happens sometimes that the booklets and the licenses don't reach the manning agency or the owner before somebody is flying out to join a ship. So we issue a CRA, which is a certificate of receipt, which is attesting to the fact that we have received the applications for documentation, that the application is underway. And this is valid for 3 months, and it allows the person, the officer carrying it, to sail in the capacity that he has applied for 3 months. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we come to the fun bit. Let me flip over to where my notes were, and so that I don't forget anything that I'm trying to say here. Then and now, you know, age-wise, there is a half a century between us. I'm in my early 70s, and I'm going to presume that all of you are in your late teens or early 20s. So there's 50 years between us. There's half a century, and boy, has shipping changed in that 50 years. It's changed tremendously. My first ship was a vessel called the MV Duncraig. The Duncraig was a 15,000 deadweight ore carrier built in 1957. She was not a pretty ship. She had midships accommodation. She was powered by a 4-cylinder Doxford engine, opposed piston. She had steam auxiliaries, and she had a Scotch boiler. And as I said, not a very memorable ship. In fact, I try to forget it, but I decided to bring it up today because it was my first ship. In those days, we still had radio operators. And the radio operators in those days had a key, and they operated on Morse code. Compared to ships of today, this ship and the difference between the ships of today would be measured in light years, to be honest, light years. Shipping has come on technically at a very, very advanced rate. And I'm amazed. I think it's wonderful to see ships today. I really do. So shipping back then was low key. You know, the largest tankers we had in my day were less than 100,000 deadweight. And then by contrast, when I became the managing director of Wallam Ship Management, I was running a vessel called the Yari Viking, which was 465,000 tons deadweight and manned by Indian crew, by the way. And that Indian master, both Indian masters that operated that ship the whole time that I was there, not one drop of oil went into the water. 4 million barrels she carried, and not one drop of oil. She had an amazing safety record, and that's down to the 2 masters of that vessel. So technically, vessels then were very, very simple. Back in my early days, they were very, very simple. There was no electronics on the vessel. But today, you know, vessels are becoming dependent on electronics. If you look at the engine room, we have what's called as the electronic engine. If you look at the bridge of a ship, it's brimming with electronics. So I asked myself a question. I gave a presentation to the Nautical Institute a couple of years ago in Hong Kong. And I asked the question, who would be the senior officer in the years to come? Would it be still the master? Would the chief engineer still have his status? Or would there be an electronics officer who would move up to take control? And I think the consensus was that the chief engineer may be the one that would lose his status, that the master would always be there for the navigational safety and the general safety of the vessel and the safety of the cargo. But that the electronics officer would move into a very prominent position, because let's face it, without him, the ship is not going to operate and not operate efficiently. So I think in the years to come, electronics officers are going to be very, very much in vogue, very, very much, and very much wanted. They are today. I'm beginning to see it. But you know, you guys make your own minds up. I don't know what training goes on in the college or the university for ETOs, but I mean, in my day, a lot of the ETOs that came in the early days were not coming from the electrician side, but they were coming from the old radio operators. These guys were the guys who could change over easier than electricians. Electricians were used to heavy electrics, if you like, but when it came to electronics, a lot of them were lost. So this is a new breed that's coming through, and it's a breed that's going to be here for a long, long time. In my day, there was no ISM code. There was no ISPS. There was no port state control. There was no MLC. Boy, we had an easy life of it, I can tell you. But nevertheless, we worked hard and we made sure that our vessel was operating safely and that the vessel was kept to the standards that the company required. Today, of course, you have all of these codes, all of these conventions, and many people say that the industry is over-regulated. Yes, it's easy to say that, but these regulations are there for a reason. And so I would argue against that. I would say that the regulations are coming for a reason, and it's making ships safer, and it's making it safer for the people who sail the ships. And that's important. Shipping as a business has changed. Back in my days, it was mom and pop who ran the business. Family-owned shipping companies. But by and large, they've all died out. They've all been taken over. Somebody's calling me, and I don't know who. I'm sorry. Anyway, let's ignore it. So shipping's changing a lot. Today, shipping companies are owned by financial groups, and many of them traded publicly. I was the president of one of those companies that was traded publicly. And that my wife, sorry, and so it's changed the whole thing. Ships today run by financial operations. They've got to run efficiently, and yes, they've got to run safely, but they've got to run at a low cost. And sometimes that equation doesn't quite match. Low cost, efficiency, and safety. Sometimes there's a gap there, and so ships need the money to make them run efficiently and make them run safely as well. And this is the ongoing a gamble between ship managers and ship owners of today. Shipping today needs fast and reliable communications. SATCOMs were introduced in my day, but in my initial days, as I said before, it was radio operators and Morse keys. But now you see all the packages of communications that you have on board. You all have internet in your cabins, and everybody can contact their families. In my day, you couldn't do that. I'm not saying that it was bad in our day. We had a social system on board when I was sailing. We had a bar. We could get together. We could have a few beers. We could play darts. We could play all kinds of bar games. You can still do the bar games today, but you can't have the beer the way that we enjoyed it. And I think that's pretty sad, to be honest. But I guess it's the way it is. So, you graduating cadets, I would say this to you: you're joining an industry that has reinvented itself several times over. It's still reinventing, but driven by legislation. By 2050, and I hope and pray that the IMO mandates that are out for 2050, covering emissions, etc., are met and make the planet that we all live in and we all work in to be a safer and a healthier place. And one last thing I want to say before I go is that a ship is a very safe workplace, but it can also be a very dangerous workplace. Do not step out of your safety frame. Everybody has a safety frame. Do not step out of it. Make sure you look at your personal safety and the safety of your colleagues on board, your shipmates on board, and everybody looks out for each other. You've got to be aware of safety at all times. Every job has got a safety component. Make sure you comply with the safety component before you start the job. Listen to your senior officers and listen to your colleagues. And the one thing that I always said when I gave presentations at Walham was I always told the crew, go safely, but please, when you get on board your ship, engage your brain before you engage your hands. Think safety at all times. Gentlemen, I want to thank you, and I want to wish you all, again, a very, very great congratulations on your graduation. Well done.
Thank you, sir, for such an enlightening presentation and sharing your experiences. I hope that everybody has followed, and I'm sure that everyone has gained a lot of information today out of this session. Now it's time for the question answer session. So if anyone has any question, please raise your hand.
Before I move on to the Q&A session, just a couple of things from my end. First, I would like to thank our speaker, Mr. Robert Jerry, who is actually in quarantine in a hotel in Hong Kong. I was just traveled from Manila, as you mentioned. And so thank you very much for that, for finding your time, among your so busy schedule to be here and enlightening our cadets with how is the ship and the crew licensing procedures. And I know we've had this communication going on for this talk for last 2 months, but still there was a little bit of cross communication yesterday and today with regard to the Microsoft team and Google Meet. And I think finally we got it sorted out. So thank you again for that we're back on Google Meet. Also, we had a little bit of confusion with regard to time zones. And I got a message from Mr. Jerry about 1 hour back at 3 o'clock saying, I'm knocking your door. I said, and before I could reply I got your message again saying you got it wrong. You're still 1 hour to go for the webinar. So
well, I'm an engineer. I was never much good at these things anyway, so.
Not really. Even I had to use the help of Google to find out the time zone difference between Hong Kong and India. And finally, I had to come back to you on GMT. I thought that is the most safer way of doing it. So I said, this is GMT time and that. So we had a little bit of time zone confusions on that, but I'm happy that we're all here on time and we got it sorted out. Secondly, I would like to...
Just as well it wasn't Zulu time.
Sorry?
No, just as well it wasn't Zulu time.
Yeah. And secondly, I would also like to congratulate you on a very successful career. 1968 to today, 2021, started as a junior engineer and with a vast experience, as I mentioned, all around the world, doing taking on different responsibilities. And now, you're working on a ship and today everybody comes to you. As a ship owner, they come to you to register their ship. So you're sitting on a very key position in shipping. So congratulations on your shipping career.
But can I just say something very quickly on that?
Please.
When I retired from Genco, I'd been through every phase of shipping, and I thought I knew not everything about everything, but I thought I knew it all as I went along. And then I went into the registry, and I realized that I knew nothing about registering a ship, because at Genco and at Walla, my teams of people that did all that under me. So this has been a big learning curve for me and something I'm enjoying. Why am I still working? I don't play golf. So I want to keep my brain turning over. So that's the reason.
Very true. Very true. I would just comment on that, as you mentioned in the last slide about your time and the time now. I would say the major shift that I'm seeing from your time, it was more about muscle power, and today it's more about brain power, as you mentioned about electronics. So there's a shift required from muscle to brain if you need to be in shipping today with a lot of technology in all departments, engine, electrical, or navigation.
Very true.
So thank you once again for your time. I have a few questions which I got from the audience, but I would leave it to the audience to first ask in case they have it on, in case they want to ask on their own. If not, then I will come out with the questions that they've sent me.
Sure.
So anybody having any questions? You can raise your hand. No question. So we have a first question from HOD sir, Captain Vinodhan sir.
Just one of the questions I received, and let me ask on behalf of these cadets. You mentioned about a Liberian inspector being located across the world. So can you just give us a brief on the qualification to be a Liberian inspector?
Oh, well, the Liberian inspectors have come from the industry. They may be captains, chief engineers. They could be chief officers or whatever, but they come from the industry and they're working within the industry at the time they come to work for us. I mean, a lot of them have got their own survey companies. And so they want to add business to their survey company. So they make application to the registry to be a surveyor or an auditor. We then look at their work history. And if we find them suitable, then we bring them in for this 2-week training course. Now, when they go through the training course, they have to pass the training course. There's no written exam at the end of it, but our trainers who are doing the training course, they know if these people are picking it up because they're giving workshops and they have to go through their workshops, etc., etc. If they pass the training course, then they are told that they can be Liberian flag inspectors. So, from whatever ports they're in. So all of these people, they've all been trained by Liberia, every one of them. And we've got over 400. But they all come from the industry. They're either chief engineers, chief officers, masters, or whatever.
Thank you. The next question that I've got, you mentioned about 14%, which is just second to Panama with regard to total number of ships registered. And to be honest, seeing your presentation today, if I was a ship owner, I would have registered my ship with Liberia.
Oh, good.
You did promote the Liberian flag in a very nice manner. So what attracts ship owners to Liberian flag? In your
What was that, sorry?
What attracts a ship owner to register a ship at Liberia?
Well, the big attraction is quality. The quality of the service, the speed of the service. We are 24/7, and of course other flags say they're 24/7 as well. But if you talk to some ship owner who's dealing with Hong Kong flag, a lot of national flags are civil servants, and when it comes 5 o'clock at night, a lot of them walk out the door. I've had owners say to me, I can't get anybody at the Hong Kong registry after 5:30 at night, I can't get anybody on weekends. We're here 24/7. Last night, I worked until 1 o'clock in the morning because I'm dealing with a big ship manager and he's putting in a bid for a ship and he wants it to be Liberia and he's working with me on the numbers. So I'm with him until 1 o'clock in the morning, we only go to sleep when we need to go to sleep. We're working there for the owner. I've got other owners that contact me and they say, Jerry, I've got a problem with the ship. I can't get it into dry dock when I need to get it into dry dock, and I need to do another trip. What can we do? Okay, leave it with me. We'll sort that out. We'll give you extensions, etc., etc. And it allows the owner to do what he needs to do to get the ship into dry dock. So that's only two small examples. There's a lot of examples where we help and work with the ship owner. The quality of what we do and the quality of our fleet. I talked about port state control and the reduction in the detentions. This detention prevention system, it's free. We don't charge ship owners for this. It's done free, but we do preemptive inspections. We'll get on board before port state control get on board, and we save detentions. So I think the quality of the operation is what attracts the owners. Also personalities. Look, let's not kid ourselves. There's a lot of personality aspects in this business as well. I have a lot of friends who are ship owners or work in ship owners' offices. And a lot of them, they don't come to me because of me, but they feel comfortable with me. So a lot of that, all the regional offices are the same. Japan, we put somebody into our Korean office, and after 6 months there, the business started to flow in from the Korean owners. Again, it was the personality, it was the face-to-face, it was the one-on-one, that kind of thing. Yeah. So.
Thank you. You mentioned about, I think, 340,000 seafarers with license in Siemens book under Liberia.
380,000, yes.
380,000. So what is the procedure that you have for a seafarer's license under Liberia? Suppose one of these boys wants to take a license with Liberia. Is that possible sitting here?
Yeah, go back to my presentation and pick up crew certification. The boys are the boys sponsored by any shipping companies or not?
Of course, through the shipping companies.
Right. So they do it through the shipping company. The shipping company is going to appoint them on their next ship, whether it be a container ship or whatever. The documentation will be sent to whichever flag, and then the flag will process it. As I said earlier, important things are that the documentation is all accurate, that the medical certificate is within the 12 months, and also that they are upfront with the medical practitioner, and also that their training records are up to date and training records are correct for the position that they're applying for.
Okay. Just a couple more. How much time do you take to trace your certificates? You mentioned about tracing fake certificates. How much time do you take to trace a certificate?
You mean if there's a question on the certificate, if it's a bona fide certificate?
That's correct. Yeah, if there's a question on sorry.
It's interesting. A couple of years ago, I don't normally we don't really get so many questions on that today, because I think most port state control regimes accept what they're seeing as bona fide certificates. But there are some, as you know, less than honest port state control areas where you can go into. And I remember being in one, I won't mention the country, but I remember that one of the ships was in one where they were questioning the certificate of one of the, I think it was the chief cook or somebody, yeah. We got the question. We instructed the captain what to do. The captain went online with the port state control officer, and the captain went online, went into our website, and he found what he was looking for, and he showed it, and the port state control had to back off. Port state control were looking to fine the ship 5,000 US, which of course, as you know, would have gone in his back pocket. So we saved the owner money, and we saved them time. If you go into www.lisker.com, there is a section in there where you can, it's quite easy to navigate through it. It doesn't take time at all. It's very, very quick.
Yeah, just the last question from one of the slides that you showed. Is Liberian flag registering, or is the US naval ships registered with Liberian flag?
No. We're purely commercial. We've got nothing to do with the US, nothing to do with the US period, government-wise. The flag looks the same, except we only have one star. They've got 50, whatever, So the flag looks the same, but that's it. No, we're in the USA. The registry, as I said, is operated by, it's owned by, not the registry is owned by, the operating company, Lisker LLC, is owned 100% by Americans. It's a family operation. I know the owners very, very well. Excellent people. The registry's been operated this way since 1948. Once upon a time, the registry used to be operated under International Registries, which is Marshall Islands today. But that changed in the 90s for various reasons. And the company, the people who own it today, have been there since the early 2000s. So, yeah, it's a family operated under license from the Liberian Maritime Authority.
Yeah, thank you for answering all my questions, which I said is a consolidated one which I received. Before I hand over, before I come to our director, I would like to go to Captain Deb Goswami. So if you can hear us, Captain Deb. We can't hear you. Are you muted?
No, I'm not muted. I can hear you.
No,
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, can you hear me? Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Captain Binay.
I can hear you, but I don't think I can
Also,
understand you. I can hear.
Okay, can you hear me, sir? Because
maybe a little bit better, yeah.
it has been a long time.
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
it has been a long time since we left Wale. That's why the sound has fainted.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Jerry, and
you're looking better. You're looking better than me.
come in.
You're looking better than me.
I don't want to comment on this. Thank you. It was a much added presentation from you, and it was more that we all wanted to see you. You have reached so high, and congratulations for excellent achievements. And IMU has been trying to get the people across the globe holding key positions from not only from India but also from abroad. And Captain Vinod has been quite enterprising in getting people, and I only try to connect. And just one question, Mr. Jerry, if you did not come to sea, what you would have become?
I can't answer that because I was always going to sea. I left school when I was 15 years of age because education was not for me. I wanted to earn money. And I went into the shipyards in Glasgow and I served a formal apprenticeship. And working on these ships and working on these engines, I just wanted to go where the ships were going. I didn't want to stay in Glasgow. I wanted to get away from that. I wanted to do something better in my life. And so I wanted to follow the ships. I wanted to follow the wakes and see where they're going. I wanted to sail on them. So it was always on the cards that I was going to go to sea.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I wanted to hear that you actually, the shipping was actually in your mind and in your body and in your soul. And that's
Yes.
why you did such fantastic, marvelous achievement.
I was actually.
Thank you,
I was
Captain
actually
Vinod. Thank you for giving me an opportunity.
thank you.
Just
Yes,
one
sir.
question to
Yes, sir.
Captain Dave from my side. I can see that you are on a ship. So where's your ship?
We are actually just south of Japan, near Chiba. We're just about 40 miles from Chiba, and we are drifting offshore because our berthing is still not fixed. So we are just drifting close to the land, and all the way in Far East.
Okay. I hope it's a Liberian ship.
No, it's DIS, Danish ship.
Oh, okay. If you said Marshall Islands, I would have to sign off. Okay. So, but Danish, I'll accept. Okay.
How's the weather of Japan, Captain Dave? How's the weather?
Danish. Yeah, the weather was very bad for last 24 hours, but now it is weather is abating now. It's becoming better, but it's just we are loaded, so we are not affected much. Moving with strong currents and wind, almost 5 knots per hour. So we need to keep the ship in positions, occasionally trying engine, using engine to get ourselves close to the land, not close to the land, I mean to some good place, so that when they call us, we can go inside.
Thank you. Thank you, Captain Dave, for all the support that you're extending to IMU and in personally to me. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good to see you, Captain Deb.
Yeah. To our director in charge, Mohammed Shaji sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr.
Yeah, thank you, Robert Jerry, for your enlightening speech to our young cadets. But your bottom line, though, that is word, use your brain before you use your hands. That was fantastic. And another thing, as you mentioned, okay, we can give the generation gap and the technological development. In earlier days, when you are at sea, you are saying if you want to see a person in face, it may take days or weeks, even months. But even different parts, even from near the shore, on board, you can interact. And that is one of the development of the communication in the shipping. And shipping may have what is beneficial or benefited because of that development. And regarding your this Liberian, normally it is said that the Panama and Liberia are the flag of convenience. After hearing your talk, I think the word convenience is in a positive way. Is it? But
Where do you get this term flag of convenience?
it is.
This is coming from the ITF. The ITF have got a drum and they beat it for flag of convenience. But if you sit down, the general secretary of the ITF is a good friend of mine, Steve Cotton. And when we talk privately, he understands that Liberia is a quality flag, an absolute, and with a higher quality than all, if not all, of the national flags. Believe me, it is a quality flag. But this is an old drumbeat that the ITF have, and he apologizes for it. He's actually asked me before the COVID pandemic came. He asked me if I wanted to come to London to talk to all the delegates of the ITF and address the situation, because I want this flag of convenience term only applied to flags that are a flag of convenience. Vanuatu, Cambodia. You know, give me a break. I mean, are you actually putting Liberia in the same pot as Vanuatu? You know, this is ridiculous. You know, So he said, no, no, no. He understands where we're coming from.
Tanzania,
Unfortunately, the pandemic came, travel was stopped, and I couldn't get. It's still on the cards. I will still do that. And he knows I'm coming. I'm not letting them away with this. No way. Flag of convenience is an out-of-date term. Open flag is what we call flags like Liberia. Okay, and I'll say Marshall Islands as well, because they're also a quality flag. Okay, so Marshall Islands and Liberia are open flags.
Open flag.
Open flag. They're not flags of convenience.
Okay, fine. It is a misinterpreted type. Agree. Fine. Thank you.
yeah, the Tanzania ones, you know, some of those ones are terrible. I mean, I wonder how they keep their ships floating in the water.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, some of them don't float in the water.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. I am Captain Pathak from the Department of Nautical Science. So I have a question, sir. What is this second registry?
I'm sorry, Captain. What did you say?
A second registry. Second registry. Second registry.
Second registry.
Yeah.
We are the second largest registry. Are you talking about countries like Denmark that have a national registry and a second registry?
I'm not very clear, sir, because I think some of the ships they register in two countries.
Oh,
There are some
okay.
countries
That's
are giving this a provision for a second registry for that one. That is why some national laws are there. So India is not trying. Some countries are trying for that. That is why can be registered in two places to get their benefit of both countries for the ship owners. But all countries are not there. Some countries are opting for that.
well, I think maybe your question is referring to ships that are on bareboat. A ship can have an underlying registry, for example, Liberia, but it may be operating in a cabotage trade, for example, Philippines, and so it flies the Philippine flag and it's registered in the Philippines as well. So there's two registries there. You're correct, but that's in a bareboat situation, and that's quite common.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So with this, we have come to an end. So I would like to invite Captain Rakesh Kia, sir, to deliver vote of thanks.
Thank you, Aditya. Thank you, Aditya. Good evening to one and all. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks and recognize the commitment of people behind this guest talk who worked hard to make this event a grand success. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to extend hearty gratitude to our speaker of the day, Robert Gerry, sir, who invested his most energy gracing this event. Much thanks to you, sir, for being with us today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Also, I request you to kindly accept a certificate of appreciation from our campus. You can see the screen.
And I think
I don't see anything.
Jerry,
Just a minute. Yes.
What's that?
Just a minute, sir. One
yeah,
moment.
he's going to show you.
Ah, okay. Oh, thank you.
It's coming. Certificate is coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't actually mention a new ship, but if you were to look back at the presentation on the RLM 101A on the first page above Part A, Part 1, there is the boxes of the different ships, whether it's a new construction, whether it's a change of flag, whether it's a re-registration, etc. So sorry about that, but the process is the same. So.
Okay. Sir. Also, I take this opportunity to thank Captain Dr. Deb Goswami for his valuable presence here. A special mention to our respected campus director, Mohammad Shaji, sir, for his presence. Thank you, sir. I also want to thank our HOD Captain Vinod Naveen for his immense support and guidance. Also Dr. Jain from SMM and Captain SK Padak for their presence. I might likewise want to stretch out my genuine gratitude each and everyone, especially to Mr. Ullas and Ratish for their support. Once again, I thank every last one of you for being a part of this program. Thank you. That's all from my side. Over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to wind up the session. Thank you again, Robert Jerry, sir, for being with us today and sharing your valuable inputs with us. Great. So, I guess we can wrap up this session. Once again, I thank everyone for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Thank you all.
One question, Mr. Jerry, from my end. One last question. Sorry for that. How do I pronounce your last name?
Buchanan.
Buchanan.
Buchanan,
Okay.
yes.
We were struggling to get it right, so I think Buchanan. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very old Scottish name, Buchanan.
Thank you so much. I think I should wish you good night, isn't it? You must be closer
Yeah.
to 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm just going to have my dinner now, which is getting cold on the floor here.
Thank you. We'll look forward to seeing you another day. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank you all very much. And congratulations, everybody. And stay safe when you go on your next shift. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Can I sign off now?
Yes, sir. Thank
Okay,
you, sir.
thank you.
Hello. Mic test. Mic test. കുഴപ്പമില്ല. Yes, sir. Hello. Hello. Aditya. Okay. Can leave. കുറയ്ക്കാനോ? ഹലോ. ഹലോ. മൈക്ക് ടെസ്റ്റ്. ഹലോ. കുഴപ്പമുണ്ടോ? ഇതിന്റെ ആയിരിക്കും അല്ലേ? ഉല്ലാസ് 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 ഇപ്പൊ കുഴപ്പമില്ലല്ലോ. ഈ മൈക്കിന്റെ അടുത്തിരിക്കുന്നുണ്ടോ? അല്ല, സ്പീക്കറിന്റെ അടുത്തിരിക്കുന്നുണ്ടോ? നെക്സ്റ്റ് ടൈം ഉണ്ടാവുമെങ്കിൽ